Hello, everyone. Welcome to Harness the Power of Next Gen Architecture. We'll get started in just a few minutes. We're letting a few additional attendees join, but we'll be with you shortly. Thank you. For those who just joined, welcome. We're going to get started in just another moment. We're letting some additional attendees who are still signing in continue to join. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, everyone, for joining. One more minute and we'll get started. We're just letting some final arrivals join into the meeting. Thank you again for your patience. Just one more minute. Thank you. All right, let's get started. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Harness the Power of Next Gen Architecture. My name is Daniel Hebda. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at Mega. I'll begin the presentation today with a few slides to set the context about next gen architecture, where the value is, and how to harness the power. I'm joined by Nicholas Hatfield, who will introduce himself during the demonstration phase of the presentation and will guide you through a tour of the product and how we implement elements of next gen architecture. So, jumping right in, start with our mission for enterprise architecture. There is an evolution that continues in the EA space, and it's one that highly focuses on value. So, an area that I like to emphasize is that every EA practice should deliver undeniable value. But the caveat that I put on this is that that value must be recognized by stakeholders outside of the EA practice. And so, if there's a group within the practice who are focusing on maturity elements, documentation, number of artifacts, there may be value in that, but only when we can find an audience who consumes that work product in a way that benefits the business and that aspect of the organization. So that's sort of what we're talking about today. So let me introduce the next gen EA in terms of what is next gen architects and next gen architecture. Speak a little bit to the context to set the stage. So, first, in that evolution of EA that I mentioned, we are seeing a dramatic shift from EA practices that were hyper focused on content. That could be documentation of existing state. It could be details and metadata about things that already are. And oftentimes it was to complete the scope of a model as needed by the architects themselves. So it wasn't necessarily focused on delivering clear value to stakeholders outside of the EA group. And the shift that we're seeing is more and more organizations focus on business outcome driven enterprise architecture. That's where the work of the enterprise architects is specifically targeted to address real needs for the organization. That can be transformational, that can be optimization, that can be designing new states, new business models, whatever it might be, but with specific stakeholders and audiences in mind that will affect genuine and measurable business outcomes. So, anytime I talk about the value of enterprise architecture, people will inevitably ask, what is enterprise architecture? Or what do I mean by enterprise architecture? And I like to flip the question a little bit and speak more to why an organization should pursue enterprise architecture. And again, for me, this is part of that next gen shift. It's really, what is the purpose of enterprise architecture? And I've got one here for the presentation's sake. Of course, offline we can debate and tweak it as needed. But really, the purpose of enterprise architecture is all about aligning enterprise execution, that's the operating model, by design, to the company strategy. So, as architects, if we look and hear and understand the company strategy, we may even reflect that within the architecture to show that we have an understanding of the strategy. We can then look across the enterprise and find opportunity to promote transformation in the direction of the strategy. Now, that doesn't mean that the EA practice will design and drive the change of every aspect of the enterprise and every aspect of the strategy, but it is an umbrella statement you can use as a test. And so, if the services that your EA practice is offering do not help move the enterprise in the direction of the strategy, you want to question whether they genuinely have the value you believe they do, and probably promote some evolution within the EA practice. I find that the best way to do this is to articulate the EA services that your EA practice offers. I've got a few examples listed here, like sustainability by design, security architecture, app rationalization, and there are many. And if you look at the capabilities and the skills within your EA practice and how they can be applied to the enterprise, of course, you can come up with some. And there's no shortage of challenges today that the EA practice can focus on. Of course, there's elements around cloud and data security, digitization, sustainability. There's a slew of elements that are disrupting day-to-day business and enterprise architecture that we can start defining services that apply to it. Perhaps it's helping with cloud migration, maybe data transparency and visibility, whether that be from a regulatory perspective or in support of some analytics or artificial intelligence. Security, of course, always a major trend. And one of the newer trends, just to highlight quickly, is sustainability. And this is an area as architects where, for example, on one side, we can use portfolio management to help identify applications that are supposed to be shut down and make sure that they are. That can save a lot from electricity utilization and cost. And additionally, as architects, we can look for vendors and products we know promote sustainable products in the architectures when we're designing the future state. Here's a sample set of some of the common services that EA practices can offer. And you can see some of what I touched on. So within the APM space, we would expect application rationalization, tech obsolescence. Those are two of the common places, especially where a lot of EA practices might begin. You can see elements of regulatory compliance or helping design a security architecture. I mentioned data transparency. You can see the glossary management there, all the way up through cloud migration and process digitization. There's a lot that can be done. And of course, this is just a subset of the potential. You'll have to look at the needs of your organization, the strategy and where they're going, as well as the skills and capabilities within your EA practice to ensure you can deliver. One of the challenges we see, however, is that many EA practices do start with application portfolio management. It is sort of a quick win. It's an easy way to get started, to collect a reasonable amount of data, to start delivering value and actionable supportive decision making, but organizations can get stuck in the APM phase. And so, what we want to highlight in this next gen evolution, both from the architect perspective and in a moment in the next gen EA practice and tooling, is be careful not to get stuck in that APM space. Now, I've listed a series of examples of stepping stones, if you will, how you can grow and expand on your EA practice, going from APM, in this example, cloud, data security, digitization. The sequence can be what's prioritized based on your needs and your stakeholders. So it's not that you have to follow this order, but just to be careful to get out of that singular lens of one service or one function and really expand the reach of the EA practice into the organization. So how can we help you do that? We're going to introduce here now the concept of the next gen EA, and in particular some of the tooling that we have that's going to accelerate your ability to get out of that stuck state and into delivering more concrete value. So if I look at the traditional approach, and again, I'll start with kind of APM, we would go through discover, assess, and transform. And many practices, the discover phase of which applications or technologies can be manual. It might be looking into Excel sheets or databases, or even looking through different technologies that may be scanning a network. But it's not always automated or facilitated in a way that's sufficiently fast for the value delivery that the business will expect. And so we want to be careful because we have seen a number of organizations who get hung up even on that level. Now, yes, we can deliver value even within that discover phase. We can start to track life cycle data. We can start to understand tech obsolescence, even start to gather and determine dependencies and impacts. But we want to make sure that we get to that assess level of value. This is where we start looking at the rationalization. Does the business have the right technology for their needs at the right level of risk, at the right level of technological stability, the right level of cost, et cetera? This is where we can start to do that app rationalization. And those two phases, again, are fairly common and people succeed to it, but it takes them longer than really it should. And really, we need to get to transform. And that's where we can start moving towards that, moving the organization into alignment with the strategy, taking on more value than just the APM in and of itself. And so, what we're proposing is to increase the automation of the discovery phase, integrate with discovery tools that feed into the APM or the EA platform that will give you that inventory, and then to use artificial intelligence to start assisting on the construction and clarification of the inventory, as well as the alignment to the business capability model so that we can perform those assessments and get towards those transformative higher value elements much more quickly. So we're going to discover, we're going to use AI to look through the discovered data, help us clean it up and determine the applications from the technology. We're then going to look at those business applications and again tap into the artificial intelligence to propose which of the business capabilities they would typically support. That lets us work very quickly on that assessment phase and jump right into transformation. So we're looking to get that baseline for the EA initiative to start in weeks instead of years. And if years sounds unreasonable, I can tell you from experience that a lot of customers, some already spent years before they even came to us, some have a challenge to collect the data after they come to us, and we're correcting that with our next gen EA vision. So quick product overview in terms of the platform and some of what you'll see today. We do have an element where different discoveries can plug in and feed the platform itself. That's where you can start building on the IT, the data, the process, and or the risk perspectives all together in one place. And of course, to accelerate that, we can also leverage industry content from different industry providers as well as from Mega itself. And so at this point, I'm going to pass the demonstration over to Nick. He's going to guide you through a storied example of how this works and how it looks. And of course, if you do have any questions or comments, please put them in the Livestorm Q&A section. Of course, you can also chat with us on the side. Nick, let me pass it over to you. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you for the introduction, Dan. In today's demonstration, I will be walking the audience through APM automation. So this is the latest and greatest feature of Mega HOPEX. It is the ability to discover technologies, receive a recommendation about whether that technology is an application or a technology, and then use some intelligence to get a recommendation about business capabilities that are typically fulfilled by that application. So that's the basic outline for today's demonstration. I'll also be showing you some reports and dashboards throughout. I'm already logged into HOPEX here, so this is our main home screen. I'm logged in as an IT business manager. I can see that in the top left of my screen. We have additional navigation available in our menu here. So this is where I can access different features such as the APM automation, list of applications. I can get into the business architecture. Additionally, there's a notification engine. So it's possible for users to receive notifications via Mega HOPEX and or through email. So if there's some kind of workflow or review that needs to take place, any individual contributor can receive that notification, go directly to the objects in question, and then start to process any kind of request or update that needs to be made. So today we're looking at APM discovery. So I've already performed some kind of discovery with our partner where we can discover technologies that are used. And then HOPEX is giving us a recommendation about whether it's an application versus a technology. So that's what we see on our screen right here. These are all the assets that were discovered. We can also tie in and get life cycle information, start to think about technological obsolescence as well as compliance. On this screen, we have a recommendation. Is it an application or is it a technology? As well as the rate. So this rate tells us the amount of confidence we have around this recommendation. So I can drill right into the applications that are recommended as an application. So I just have a small subset here, some ServiceNow, Microsoft Teams, Jira, just some different technologies that a lot of our customers are using today. I get a justification, so a little bit of information about why that recommendation was made. And then I can choose yes or no. Is it an application or was it a technology? I can choose all of them in bulk to quickly select all of them and then qualify them as applications. So here on our screen, we can see exactly, we've taken this subset of technologies. We have pretty high confidence that they are indeed applications. And then we can start to add responsibilities, give it a name, add it to a portfolio, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd already set up a portfolio to use for this specific usage today. So we're using the My APM portfolio. I'm also just going to establish myself as the application owner. So I've already done that. And then I just can name these as I like. So any of these applications, maybe I don't want to include the specific version or something like that. The choice is up to you, how you want to manage it. What we're doing is we're giving you the name that is provided by the vendor there. So I'll just input this pretty quickly. We can also, just to make it a little quicker, control copy and control paste. So now we have applications, we have our technology, and then we can push these into production. So I press create applications. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. Now we've created these different applications. From here, we can actually search for these as well. So if I want to take any of these applications, start to filter for them, make sure that they are in here, I can search for Atlassian. Here I have my couple of applications and I've already added them to my portfolio. So we're all set from that perspective. And then we also have intelligence around a business capability recommendation. So from this screen, I can choose which application portfolio I want to evaluate, as well as the business capability map that we're going to use. From here, we receive a list of applications and recommended capabilities. So I've decided to sort of limit my list a little bit here and only looking at the top capabilities, but you can drill as deep as you like into your capability model. So here, high level, I have some business capabilities recommended to me that belong to my insurance capability map. We have a readout. We can then preview the new capability map. HOPEX is automatically showing me the business capabilities and applications that are being recommended. So I've got a filter here where I can see everything that is being recommended with that new linkage. The next step is to simply update our repository. So we link our apps to our capabilities. That process is complete in our APM automation portfolio. And now we can go to that perspective. So I have my portfolio saved directly here to my home screen. I have a list of the applications belonging to this portfolio. And we can take any one of these and drill into it. So this is my Microsoft SharePoint application. If we scroll down, we have the links to the business capabilities that were suggested. And then we also have the technology. So this technology automatically has a company standard applied to it. If there's any life cycle information, we're pulling that from ITpedia, so that gets updated for us in real time. So this is a great way to baseline. So we've baselined our portfolio. We have a list of applications. We've linked them to business capabilities. We've also described what is, or whom I should say, is responsible for this application. But then we can create additional linkages as well. So for example, directly within HOPEX, we can link it to other applications and describe sent and received application flows. So what kind of content is being sent and or received from SharePoint to another application? Here it's Alldesk. So we have some content, we can describe it from a data perspective. We can also categorize our data. So we can create new classes. We can also reuse any classes that we already have. So here we have a list, but then you can start to just type in and it will automatically give us a recommendation there. So I have some data. It's called assignment. We already have some information about its CRUD access rights. We can give it a new category. So maybe it's some contact as a type of data. Maybe it is involving some personal identifying data as well. But really, the big idea is with any of these inputs, we can describe relationships, we can update attributes, but then we have automatically generated reports. So in this first view, we're looking at the sent flows. So Microsoft SharePoint sends content called bank customer to the Alldesk application. If we scroll down, we'll have additional views here that will point out the business capabilities and the technologies. So Microsoft SharePoint is used with these different business capabilities, as well as fulfilling, is fulfilled by these software technologies. Additionally, you can assess. So you can provide survey assessments, ask questions in plain English, or like I'm doing here, we provide a level of an expert assessment. So I have direct inputs to assess the business value, functional support, and technical efficiency of this application. And then we have our dashboard view here. So if I just refresh my ID card, it'll start to light up for us, right? So now we have a full dashboard view. We've described some different dependencies all on one application. If we go back to our portfolio view, though, we have a lot of other out-of-the-box reports. I added that airportmega.com just to give you a more complete perspective. But in this view, we can see any level of dependencies. So the Airport Mega is connected to business processes, software technologies, business capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also have our SharePoints listed out here as well. Additionally, we have our business capability map. So this is a business capability breakdown. It's a heat map that will show us the results of assessments or any other piece of information that we're focused on. So I've got my color-coded application as well as the circle. We can see here with our filter on the, or excuse me, with our legend on the right-hand side, exactly what that color coding means. So the idea here is we've assessed these, we understand some of the underpinnings, and then we can start to filter. So let's say I just want to see the applications that have a good business value, but then a low technical efficiency, which is what I had just assessed. We're going to bring all of those different applications to the foreground. Additionally, we have data reports. So that data input where we categorize the assignment, we can generate a report on that, such as this dendrogram here. So this shows me all the categories of data that belong to my APM automation portfolio, as well as the applications that are involved here. So Microsoft SharePoint, airportmega.com, they're using some different classes. We've categorized that. So there's a lot of value here, especially with some of the other reports that we can extrapolate. For example, we could generate a report that maybe shows some kind of obsolete technology and then all the different dependencies as well as the data. So if we're using an obsolete technology, we're worried about the health there, we're using some kind of sensitive data in that system, we can be more proactive in our approach and in our plan. We also have a smart analysis available to us. So with the smart analysis, we can take any one of the attributes or factors from our ID card, and we can get a recommendation about what decision should we make. So we have out of the box a cloud migration analysis as well as a time analysis, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. And with this, we get a recommendation. So we have a list of applications. We can see what that recommendation is. We can drill into the completion details. So here are the factors that we're actually looking at: the SLA level, business value, application obsolescence risk, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also have, of course, the capability to visualize this. So we have a lot of different applications that we should invest, or maybe we should migrate. So this is a smart analysis. We're taking all the different factors of our ID card, and we're able to report on those. Additionally, we can use any of these applications in the modeling. So I have a model here. It's just called a scenario of application flows. We can add a new application here. So we'll reuse the Atlassian Confluence application that we created. So we've added it to our model, and then we can connect it to one of these other applications. So here we're really just enriching on our use case. So I'll add my data, connect it up, and then we can automatically lay out our model in a way that makes sense, right? So I can automatically flip this around, clean it up, make the border a little bit bigger as you like, right? So we can use it in the solution architecture. We can use it in the process models as well. And then, of course, we have many different styles of dashboards and reports with drill down capabilities. So in this view, I'm looking at the cost of my applications. I can understand how complete is the data within my repository. So we're looking at just how many applications have a completed assessment in my entire repository, or look at the underpinning. So how many applications are using a technology from a given vendor? This is all dynamic, so I can click right there into Microsoft. Here are all my applications that are using some kind of Microsoft technology, and then I can create other reports. So now we're sorting by business value. So if I've got some poor or low business value applications, I can create another list and create yet another layer of reporting. And finally, we have an enterprise architecture portal. So we call this HOPEX 360. Any report, visualization, diagram can be stored here. So for example, we can get to an application list. I've got a list of applications linked to business capabilities, linked to software technologies, and we have that same level of reporting available to us here. So I've got my ID card. I can visualize different impacts. I can visualize different diagrams, different flows, as you like. And then we can also access a CIO dashboard. So this was a pretty fast, quick moving demonstration. We went through the APM automation scenario. So it's this is a use case to quickly baseline your repository. So we have a partner that provides the discovery and lifecycle information, so we can check that, make sure that we're using non-obsolete, only using standard compliant technologies. Put that together, generate reports about usage, about the capabilities, about data sent and received flows. And then we can also reuse all of that information in the modeling. So I'll stop here with my demonstration, and I will I'll send it back to you, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate the demonstration. That was excellent. If I look to now see if there's questions, I've got one so far. If anybody does have additional questions, please, if you enter them in now while I'm answering the question that exists, I'd appreciate it. I'd be happy to get to it. So the first question, how did these applications get loaded on the assets? Please elaborate the components involved in the discovery process. So certainly in the demonstration you saw today, we use a technology called Ericent, which is IT discovery. So it effectively is going to find all of the different products or assets across the scope that you would determine. They get normalized so that there's a unique set of those assets or products. That gets pushed into the HOPEX platform. Once it's in the HOPEX platform, it gets reconciled with what's called ITpedia. It's a technology that will look up additional information about that particular product or asset. So lifecycle data, other information. Between these different steps of the normalization and the ITpedia add-on, there is some metadata that is collected for the asset or the product, and that's what feeds the artificial intelligence to make the determination, is that asset or product typically a business application or more of a supporting technology. And so when it is the business application, that's when the product will recommend conversion to business application, and then will facilitate the alignment of that up to the capability models as well. So that's the process for the applications getting loaded into the platform and how they get converted into business applications. If there's follow-on to that question or any additional questions, again, please feel free to type them. I'll leave just one more moment to check for any follow-on questions. And then otherwise, I'll use the opportunity to thank everyone for their participation today. We always appreciate your attendance in the webinars. We're trying to promote value in architecture. And of course, we also welcome suggestions. If there are other topics that you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to send those as well. All right, I don't see any other questions. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it and look forward to talking with everyone soon. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.